build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die.
Hello everybody, welcome to Longbangers. I'm Matty, joined tonight by Colin and John. John, how's it going?
Aye, not bad. I might be coming down with a cold. I sent a voice note to a couple of boys earlier, and one of them gave me the too long didn't listen, except for the fact that you were sounding really, really husky. And I pulled a muscle in my neck the other day, so it's been a good couple of days.
I had a flatmate once who, well, speaking about loads on the podcast. I came home one day, right, come into the flat, it's in the morning, come in, and he's standing at the phone in the hall when you used to have like a house phone, and he's got tissue rammed up his nose, and he was phoning in sick, and they put the tissue up his nose so he sounded bunged up on the call. Like, that's extreme lengths to go to.
No, it's not worse than that.
Aye, you didn't need to do it anyway. Like, if you just phone up and say, I'm not feeling very well, you didn't need to make the voice.
I tell you what, as someone on the other end of it, it makes me disbelieve you even more. Like, my original status is fucking skiving. Right? But if you're putting on the voice, then you're 100% at it.
Aye, but if there's no need to have a pathetic voice, it's just shaking. The funny thing is, he was standing with a joint in the other hand, It's like, there's fuck all wrong with me.
Just look at that rasp.
Aye.
Look at that rasp in the chest.
I might get it up one morning. I was hungover the fuck. It was like Saturday morning. I was meant to be meeting my mum and dad at the Bow Bar on Victoria Street. So maybe about 10 o'clock, half 10, round about that time, got up hanging, opened the door, and John was just walking past with a joint, and he just goes, "Oh, here, have this." Just hand it to me. So you take it, good day, bother. I fucking whited instantly. I was like, "Oh, as fuck." I was like, "The fuck have you put in that?" It's just like, I think it's just you being pathetic, to be fair. And I think it was probably right. Still went to the pub though. That was a good day. Anyway, right, Colin, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm not as eventful as John, to be honest, but I'm all right. Well over the football by now, recording 48 hours after the game started. 48 hours.
It's good.
Long time ago.
I had just like a manic wee 10 minutes before we started. So my daughter's been doing art stuff on the desk that we record, so everything's been shifted. And we just used to everything being there. I was like, sort of fucking cables, where's my headset? Just everything's all over the fucking place.
Is that why you're sitting off centre tonight?
Yeah,
normally you're a wee bit further to the right.
And then another thing is Josh had decided to come over for a wee visit the night as well, so he jumped on the train, and the trains have all been delayed, and he was going to just walk. It's pissing with rain. He said, "Would you come and pick us up?" I didn't bother. Train station's 5 minutes up the road in the car. So I chucked my coat on. I'd been out in the garden and my coat was soaking. Chucked the coat on, went away. There's been an accident on the wee road up to the train station at Queen Margaret. So the police have shut the road. So I had to park in the wee quick fit, wait for him to come down. Anyway, got out the car, and my arse is so been sitting on the wet coat. And Kim, you didn't notice it because you obviously must have been pressed against it. So I've got a big soggy left cheek. There's a nice image for you for recording. It's not been a perfect start to the podcast, to be fair.
I was on the way into uni yesterday. It was about, what time was it? It was maybe just after 12. It rains are lashing down. I'm just joining the MA at Deer Park. And traffic's fine, like normally there when I'm going into work. There's usually traffic's backed up while everyone jockeys for positioning it. I was like, brilliant, we'll get into Edinburgh quickly. And then just as around the bend, I can see all the lights up ahead. Everyone's braking, slowing down and that. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I see a lorry kind of veering off into the hard shoulder. Then I see two cars that are on the hard shoulder. And I just see like all the wee sort of red stones that are sort of like over the road. I'm like, oh, what the fuck's going on here? Wonder if they've had a bump. And then I look into the outside lane and I see a Tesla pointed in the opposite direction. Like they've obviously aquaplaned or something and just kind of hit the central reservation. And it made me wonder, like, seeing that sort of situation with the rain pushing down, there's no police, like, you're not actually fucked. Like, you're just kind of prying the motor a wee bit. How do you get back on the road? Like, are you not going to give oncoming traffic the fear seeing a fucking car coming towards you in the opposite direction?
You'd have to have your hazard zone and wait for an opportune moment to do it, for like a gap in the traffic to try and spin round as fast as you can, even if you just spin across onto the hard shoulder. But I think if that's the advised action to take, or whether you should, because even if you crash on or break down and you make it to the hard shoulder, you're meant to get out your car and wait for somebody to fucking come and rescue you and everything. But I'm thinking it's probably no advisable to drive the wrong way on the motorway, even if it's only because cars will come that quick at you. Even if it's only a few seconds, it can look clear, and that situation could change quite rapidly. You would think. I think. What would you do, Colin?
What would I do if I was listening to Longbangers, hoping to hear Hibs against St Johnstone? Or what would I do if I was part of the wrong side of the road? I'd get off.
If there's anyone that works for the traffic cops, text in and let us know what you do.
I'd definitely get on a hard shoulder. Like,
Aye.
out of the way. And then worry about that rest later. I think that's
because it's probably worse sitting in the fast lane like that. That's, I suppose you just have to do a risk assessment and then fucking make the call.
Get the clipboard out, fill in a wee bit of paper.
Next week on Top Gear, we'll discuss it.
I thought you'd got to come to me for a traffic update. It's all fucking roadworks up here. No matter what way you go, the fuckers they put one at the bottom of the fucking road, and so you think, I'll go the other way, which is the long way, but still it's quicker than sitting on the 4-way lights at the roundabout. So you go the other way. They put wee temporary lights on other wee side streets so that the ones they know that you'll cut along. Aye, bastards. And they're not doing anything. They just put cones out and temporary lights. Nobody's ever there.
Why not just go and take them down? Just go.
So there's cones as well, but there's like a whole thing, and it's like you need to. You can move the lights, but then the cones are still there. So then it's got to still create that issue. There's one lane that's a bus route in that. You know what I mean?
You need to. You're a project manager. Just rustle up from some folk in the street.
Get somebody to do it.
Get a squad of folk out and move everything.
You should move it 100 metres down the road. See if anybody notices. Come when they go to fix whatever they want to fix. I can't find that fucking pipe anywhere.
Incredible.
There was one night, would have been fucking 17, 18, coming in the high street, the Royal Mile, past the big cathedral, and they had the big stop, the big barriers for what they put out. Tucked in, obviously it wasn't in use, and we were like, put out. That'll be funny because we're steaming, fucking 3 in the morning. As we're dragging it onto the road, the fucking police come up the road. So what we did is we pretended we were putting it back, and somebody else had done it. Police gave us a wee thumbs up.
So just drove past you.
I just went past it. It was us doing a good deed. Fucking idiots. Right, better talk about the football, isn't that? Friday night, right? So, what's the agenda for the night? Right, for Longbangers episode, our standard episode, we're going to talk about the game. We'll talk a wee bit about the atmosphere, the pre-match experience and all that kind of thing that they go on about. And before we do that, I want to say a wee shout out to Ryan Melville, who sorted me out with 2 tickets for my daughter and her boyfriend, because we bought 2 tickets in the famous 5. I think I spoke about this last week. Went to get tickets. I think it's St Johnstone were playing. Monday last week, went in to get the tickets, thinking they bought single seats everywhere. Couldn't get anything in the West. So I thought, famous 5 Lowers are always empty. Even on the sellout nights, I'll get 2 tickets, even if it's separate ones, on there, and that'll be fine. And then obviously everywhere else starts selling out. Emailed the ticket office and said, if you've released more seats, can you give me 2 together and swap them? No can do. They came back. So I put a wee appeal out on Twitter, and Ryan came back. There was also a guy on Hibsnet had offered them as well, Oscar Hibs, I think.
I think this should put to bed any suggestion that Longbangers is close to Hibs, because if we were, you'd have got tickets wherever the fuck you wanted.
I could have clicked my fingers like that. But
fuck you, you're a pleb like everyone else.
Former Hibs TV presenter.
Got anyway, but Ryan, he couldn't make it the game, so he messaged me and offered the tickets. So Sophie and her boyfriend got to sit really good seats up the back of these. So thanks very much for that, Ryan. Also, wee thanks to Tracy Smith, who phoned me to say that she couldn't use her tickets and I could have used hers if need be. So it's nice when folk are nice. So thank you to everybody who'd got in touch. Anyway, right, Friday night. So we'll talk about the match day experience just a little bit, because in extra time, our subscriber episode, we're going to talk about that whole bit about it, right? So is it something that has legs and Hibs could do more often? What would be the impact of cutting the prices, and what would stop Hibs doing it? And we've got a wee bit of input from the club there as well. So I think it'd be quite an interesting conversation, about half hour or so, that we'll talk about that on extra time. It's for subscribers, and if you'd like to subscribe, go to our normal size Twitter. It's just like fucking average size Twitter.
Same size as everyone else.
Same size as everybody else. It's not as big as the cunts that have got fucking millions of followers and everything, but we do all right. go in there and click the wee link. You can subscribe for there. £3 a month, right? Decent value. So Friday night, we'll talk about the game. A wee bit about VAR as well, because that's quite topical. We'll probably talk about how that was used across the weekend in the various games. And then we'll see what else kind of comes up. Obviously, we're off to a bit of a tangent as we've already started the night, so who knows how it'll go. Anyway, right, if we start with the actual cheap tickets, match day experience, violinist, fireworks, etc. John, you weren't there. You were watching on TV. Colin, what did you think about it?
Aye.
I'm pointing at you there as well, by the way. For the folks that are just listening, I'm like, fucking, you weren't
Giving it
there.
the Phil Brown, Jimmy Bullard treatment.
You weren't
Passive
there.
aggressive or no?
Aye,
Just
I
aggressive,
didn't mean it like that. I was just thinking, right.
It's because you said
say
agenda at the start. I expected a PowerPoint, maybe like a wee laser pointer or something. That's you just like pointing at different things.
Who's the boy that does all the PowerPoint stuff? The comedian,
Dave
Dave Gorman.
Dave Gorman.
Aye, we could do a podcast like that, just with PowerPoint slides.
Mm.
Do you ever see the found poems that he does? Which we could do our talking point. So he does it. It's a found poem, and I think he takes it for like the comment sections. For there'll be like a story about whatever the subject is that he's talking about, and he'll go through the comment section and make a poem out of snippets of folks' comments. They're fucking funny as anything. We could definitely do that for the tweets that come in, and they would be. You need a bit of music behind it and everything, but it's good.
I can't remember what it's called, but there's a boy on TikTok that has like a bit of, I want to say Swiss cheese, the one that's got the holes in it, or like Jarlsberg or something, and he'll throw it onto a newspaper, and whatever it is that appears between the holes, he'll make a headline out of. It's quite funny.
That's a
I
decent
can't
idea.
think of any off the top of my head. You'll
No.
need to go and look at the boy.
Folk have got too much time in their hands, eh?
Way too much. Colin, what do you think of Friday night? The whole atmosphere and
Aye. No, it's great going to that. Well, I like the games under the lights anyway. There wasn't much pre-match entertainment. We just had the boy doing Stokes is on fire, eh? On the violin.
Is that what he was playing? I couldn't tell on the telly.
Aye, that was what he'd done at the end of them one at half time as well, which was I can't remember. Coldplay.
Aye.
That's right. But there wasn't really much of an atmosphere, and even though the crowd was that big, I didn't think before the game, because everybody piles in at the last minute.
Aye.
Like Barry brings them out 10 minutes before full time, 10 minutes before the game starts, or 15 minutes before, which is fine. Like, I'm not criticising anybody for that, but it's like half full if you're lucky at that time, because everybody's in having the last sip of their drink or whatever it is they're doing, and there must be. So we're looking at the book going, there must be huge queues outside. Nobody gets there early, right? I don't know how they encourage people to get there early. It must be the alcohol thing. That's why Ron Gordon keeps saying about it.
Aye.
Because you can't get folk in time. I even seen comments, I don't know if it was on Twitter, it must have been Twitter, because I've never looked at the message boards, saying the violinist at half time, you think you would have had him on before the game. You're like, you fucking miss. You know what I mean?
Just introduce him as Dave as well. Like, no surname or anything.
Dave
was it Brazilian? That's what I was like. I was like, fucking hell, a Brazilian fiddler. It's just Dave.
I can't remember, but the boy's good at it. But it's like it wasn't. I wouldn't blame him for not having an atmosphere. It was just like we've got the fans have got kind of got to bring the atmosphere.
Aye.
And they just don't. And I've seen comments, folks saying, I'd rather let the atmosphere build than have the boy in the violin or the opera singer or whatever. Although I think Liam for Retro Video Club, he was good, like a singer with a guitar. But I'd rather let the atmosphere build. The comment I've read, and I'm like, but it can't, because there's nobody here. Like, there's not enough folk in. We need to get. I don't know how they draw folk in the ground early. I don't know how to do it. But I like the Friday night game, like being under the lights. But I did say before the game, bumped into an old boss of mine, and he went, "What are you thinking the night?" And that, and I went, "Big crowd, big letdown, as usual."
Standard. We went. There was a changing rooms dropping in the famous 5 before it. And I popped in, and that was much the same chat there as well. It was like, you just ken what's coming, It's funny because we're optimistic. I think when we did our next 6 games on extra time, when we were back calling, we'd pegged it as a win, didn't we?
You've got St Johnstone home. You've got it. I would do it again. But as soon as you get a big, it's almost like, right, let's just keep the part timers away, because as soon as we bring them, we lose. 9
John,
games out of 10.
How did it look on the TV, John? Because I'm thinking longer term, right? So if this was to become a regular thing, so the Friday night football, I suppose the idea would be to try and get it broadcast, so you then showcase Scottish football, you showcase Hibs, whatever. Did it look decent when you're watching it?
Aye. I mean, I didn't really get much for the violinist, but I think, I mean, that's as much to do with the fact, or sorry, much to do with the medium that I was watching it through, as anything else. But see the fireworks were good, and I know that I'm not a fan. I think it's making a spectacle for spectacle's sake, but also I've said in the past about advertising Scottish football the right way, and that it did look good.
Mm-hmm.
As Colin said before, it's a game under the lights. It was dark, fireworks were going off, or no, the fireworks like the flames outside, that kind of, it gave the impression of an event at least. So no, it was good. I think for anyone that was tuning in, you'd kind of look at it and go, I'm quite impressed by that.
We had a mate, me and Matthew, mate of ours for school, lives in France, and he watches it. He was watching it, and he texted us during it saying, I thought it was a sellout. No, so yeah, that was what, 15, 20 minutes in, maybe first half at some point.
See, to be honest, because I'd been on Twitter, the week before, and I'd seen that I wasn't fully up to speed on what the debate was. I saw there was a bit of chat with a St Johnstone fan account talking about seats or upper tiers and the away end or whatever was going on, and the chat was that it was going to be the biggest crowd in Edinburgh, or biggest crowd at Easter Road for however many years.
Home crowd.
Home crowd.
Numbers.
Aye. Home crowd. I was like, aye, fine, brilliant. Look forward to seeing that. Look forward to seeing Easter Road full. And then obviously the camera angle from the main stand and was looking over at the east. And I think you said earlier, Colin, about thinking that it was going to be huge crowds outside.
Mm.
Huge crowds outside never made it inside because there was lots of empty seats. But I also understand the argument about their season ticket holder seats, they just never came, which is strange because there was a lot of people had turned up because it was a Friday night. But for whatever reason, season ticket holders, there were some season ticket holders opted not to, or couldn't. From my perspective, I couldn't make it.
Couldn't you?
You could release it.
I gave it to someone else so that they could use it on my behalf.
I thought it looked pretty busy, to be fair. I didn't think there was that many.
I agree. It was just for the TV spectacle. It looked like there was empties.
Aye. Right. So the game itself, I suppose the other thing that we'll come to, the game itself. Lee Johnston's going to a 3-5-2. So when you saw the team, what were your initial thoughts on it, John?
A wee bit surprised actually. I wasn't surprised about the formation. I was probably more surprised about the inclusion of Bushiri, but obviously he would have had to have come back at some point. But you know what it's like when players are coming back from injury. Normally they get a couple of minutes, and then maybe they're into the first team. Unless your Paul Hanlon, for example, who got chucked in against Livingston when he clearly wasn't fit. And I think that was actually ironically when Bushiri had found himself injured. And then Chubraya was left wing back, and I almost understood the change to 3-5-2 to try and get more out of Chris Cadden, because that's where he got his, I think, player of the year playing in that position last year. So otherwise, and I think even not playing Kennett and playing McGuinness in the middle, because I don't know if I'd call it critical, but I've questioned it in the past, holding players against teams like St Johnstone who just sit in it feels like a wee bit of a wasted jersey. So I was all right with that.
What were you calling? Because I saw there was criticism about having three at the back. Do we need three at the back against St Johnstone? Aye, but I think with four, because you're giving up the two wide ones, you're almost playing two at the back. The way the Hibs play, you pretty much playing your two centre halves for the majority of the time. Whereas if you've got three centre halves, so you're keeping one back there. I think that's the argument behind it.
Right, I think it's for goals, 5 defenders in the team. That's the argument, because the two wing backs were full backs normally. I wasn't bothered. I didn't mind chopping and changing a wee bit. Like, we weren't winning. Like, I'm against in general changing a winning team. We've not been winning, so let's try something different. We've lost the last 2-3 now
Yeah.
in a row, so why not try something different? We spoke on Spaces on Tuesday night, and we'd says, what would you change? And I think I only suggested that he would get McGuinness in, maybe for Kenna or Campbell, but probably more. I think I hopefully said Kenna, because I thought Campbell was your best player last week at Parkhead. And that was kind of the only real change, wasn't it? Other than, like, it was effectively Kenna for McGuinness, and Rocky came in for McCurdy.
Yeah.
That would be the changes for last weekend. So I think, but and the other than it's just a formational change. So what? Like, you should be able to fucking deal with a formational change like that. It just meant the fullbacks were playing higher up the pitch, which should have gave more support to Boyle and to Boyle on the right hand side, because that's where we were struggling last week. Like, Cadden was left 1-on-1 and he was too far away for the crosser. So they're trying to get him further up to block it, presumably. I had no problem with it on Friday night.
And we started all right, I thought. Yeah, there was like, I think the first couple of minutes we had a couple of shots away, and up until we scored the first half, and I thought actually the first half, John, we were pretty comfortable, by far the better team.
I thought we were comfortable right up until McGuinness decided he was going to challenge Jamie Murphy about 5 minutes too late. Like, we looked fine, like, and we were creating chances. We scored. I think something else that's worth pointing out as well. Like, I know that these things often change during the course of the game, but the way that the Hibs TV at least had played St Johnstone's formation, it was more of a 5-3-2, which kind of reflects what I was saying before about teams sitting in. Like, I don't think St Johnstone really offered a hell of a lot up until the point that we went down to 2 men and they scored 2 goals. It was, I wouldn't necessarily call it a smash and grab, because it wasn't like they sat with 11 men behind the ball and then managed to sneak one. But they definitely capitalised on the fact that we were down to 10 men and decided to have a go.
And it was the same old story, Colin, wasn't it? Like, creating loads of chances or enough chances, but failing to take them.
Getting shots away and that, and kind of the frustrated the keeper and that. The keeper made a few saves, but they were fairly easy ones for him to just need to stick an arm out. He wasn't diving or nothing. But it felt like we're on for a good night. Actually, I thought we started well, like we did against Motherwell. I think last time, was it? It was good.
Yeah.
The first wee bit, playing some no bad stuff, getting crosses in the box, getting shots away, scored a good goal, but didn't take enough of the chances.
Yeah. It's becoming probably Johnson mentioned after the game, said that is going to be the difference between, or we'll decide where we finish in the league, and it's hard to disagree with that, John.
Aye, I mean, you know me, I'm pretty optimistic. There was reasons for optimism one reason for optimism last week, and it was the fact that Yuan actually managed to get a goal. And then when he came on, I thought one of his first contributions was really positive. It was the ball, we say it was down the right hand side where Boyle cut it back. So it was the partnership between him and Yuan, where they were, rather than Yuan being the provider, it was Boyle. And Yuan, it was just unfortunate that he had to go for it with his left foot. I think he would have scored if it had been on his right foot. And it's really frustrating that we're not scoring goals in those chances, but the teams creating the chances are in the right positions. And it might just be a case of getting this bit back. It might be a case of having not substituted someone on the 60th minute.
But we'll come on to that as well, because I saw like a wee bit of... I actually saw a wee bit of heat for the Terrace boys about Lee Johnson and his reason for no subbing off McGuinness on Twitter. So I'll get your thoughts on that as well.
Duncan seems to have a bit of... I think he was moaning about him last week as well, about what he said about the mentality thing too.
Quite hard, giving him a hard time for it, but for Tuesday, so all about opinions. So we get the goal, decent enough header as well. Big Miko on end of a Cadden cross. Again, Cadden puts ball in a good area. This time the striker's there to meet it. Decent header.
Yep. Cracking header.
Long VAR check on the back of it though. But why do you think it was as long as it was?
I think it was that long, really, was it? Like,
It
I don't
was
know, every goal was the same length of time.
I felt like it took a while.
maybe because it was the first one.
Aye,
Because your first ride probably felt longer than it was as well.
No, he's
not
not.
hard. Not hard. It did. Aye, maybe you're right. I just thought it was like for what was a fairly obviously all right goal. You know, some goals you see them and you go, "What's fucking wrong with that?" You can straight away.
Do you know why they checked it on the VAR?
They check all the goals on the
Aye,
VAR,
check
so
everything.
they'll look for any sort of clear and obvious fouls or any reasons to disallow it. Which
Sorry, my mistake.
I think it's
I
a pretty
thought. Sorry, I thought the particular reason that they checked it because they showed it on the replay was Cadden winning the ball back from, I forget what I want to say, was it Hallberg? They won the ball back from Hallberg, and that's what started the passage of play that led to Hibs' goal.
I'm not sure. I thought they just checked everyone, but
I think they do.
maybe they do it for obvious things.
I might be wrong. I thought it was because they were checking particular incidents in the lead up to the goal rather than checking like the whole passage of play that led up to the goal.
Aye, I think they do check it, but I say it's a bit of a cunty way to approach it. Say like you've scored, so now we're going to go and review everything to see why we might be able to chop it off. It doesn't seem like a really kind of conducive way to.
How would you rate it?
That kind of says that you're looking for errors rather than was
Aye,
it the clear and obvious errors that the referee hadn't seen because he was looking at other things that were going on.
so it should be like the clear and I know they're saying they check every goal, but didn't they check every goal? Just check the ones you go that. Aye, there's maybe something in that there.
And saying that,
they're watching it real time, aren't they?
We'll be missed it. Like we'll get one there where we fucking go, why did they not fucking check it? But it's guaranteed if you didn't check
well,
it.
exactly. I think if they check every single goal, it leaves out any suggestion of. Well, no, it maybe doesn't leave out every suggestion of bias, but they at least have that in their corner.
Aye, I suppose I'm just thinking allowed. I thought for that one was an obvious one, especially then you look at St Johnstone, their first goal hint a push, right? Personally speaking, I didn't think it was enough to get a free kick, right? So if we're taking that as a measure, you go fuck it. But then if you look at the contact for some other incidents that we've been involved with this season, for instance, Rocky on Kolach against Rangers, where he had less contact than was on Porches, and gave away a penalty, and Yuan on whoever the defender was at Dundee United in the lead up to
they weren't VAR checked.
No, I can't, they weren't. But this is the point is the referee's seen them, deemed those contacts enough to be fouls. This one, the referee's obviously not seen it. It's gone to VAR, but they have seen it. They've had a chance to go and look at it and then gone, that's fine.
But surely you would like to think if the ones that didn't get VAR checked went to VAR, they would have been overturned.
Do you think they would have been?
Don't know. We'd like to think so.
Or is it not clear and obvious?
Well, I never overturned the one on Friday, so then unless we're going to go down the paranoid route and think that everybody's against us, then
that's exactly where I'm fucking going.
I know, and everybody is. You read it, it's mental, it's mad. It's.
I'm not paranoid about it. The only point I'm making is about inconsistencies. And
it's only inconsistent because they didn't get VR checks. It's like comparing apples and pears.
Aye. Well, aye. All right. The other it was Scott Miller on Twitter as well made a really good point. He said just because you didn't keep doing the wrong decision just because it's been one wrong before for consistency. I totally agree with that. I think that's spot on. You need to kind of draw a line in it. It's just. And then I said it'd be nice to be on the right end of one of these for a change. But then you could argue that the Lundstrom one went our way at Easter Road. So aye, that is what it is. Two goals for two crosses that we conceded. Porteous, I think, was the defender involved for both of them. What's your view on it, Colin?
Well, the first one he's soft as shite. He's looking for the free kick rather than try to win the ball, which he probably could have won even with that push in the back. Second one, he got out jumping by Stevie May.
Aye.
He had made the run on him, but I mean, he is a centre half. He is bigger than him. He's a big, strong laddie. Just got done, eh?
What you, Johnny? Any view on it?
It's really disappointing the way that the two players managed to get the jump on Porteous. The first one because what Colin's describing there, and I think it's something that we've called out Porches for in the past. Like he comes in for a lot of, how do I put this? He comes in for a lot of harsh treatment at times, but often he'll win fouls at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think he was trying to win a foul there. I don't know whether he was trying to bank on VAR. I don't know whether he was trying to just say that, go for the I've been pushed and I've gone down route. But I've also complimented him in the past and said that one of his strengths is his ability to win headers. I've compared him to Darren McGregor being like the more aggressive of the two centre-halves. But the two goals that Hibs conceded as a result of Ryan Porteous not being aggressive and not winning the ball is what resulted in Hibs conceding 2 goals.
Yeah, I think he's relying too much on the Presley plunge. He's been done a couple of times now. So bear in mind, he got laughed at.
Aye.
We got the penalty against Aberdeen, which caused a lot of the uproar. And then he's done it in there. He does it most weeks. And I think it's probably fine when you're like trying to let the ball roll out of the byline and that, as much as it's frustrating as fuck when it's against you. But surely not across on the penalty spot or, you know.
Well, that's what I was going to say, was that, like, I'm going to go on record and say that I don't think that Ryan Porteous is a cheat. I do think that he's playing by the rules of the game, and the rules of the game are that referees will quite often award a free kick in that sort of instance. However, on the 6-yard line, that's a massive, massive gamble, and it's not paid off. So hopefully he learns from that and doesn't do it again.
You wonder if it's one of these ones, you think if we get the free kick here, it gives us a wee bit of breather, because we need to get organised after having just gone down to 10 men, really. But I'd rather he focused on winning the ball rather than the free kick. I mean, that's kind of fundamentally, you deal with that first. Yeah. It's like kind of football 101, isn't it? What do you think of the red card? So McGuinness got sent off for 2 bookings. The first booking, I've watched it back and I still think it's a fucking free kick.
I've not watched it.
There's a free kick. I don't think it's a booking. He sees the boy. Like he makes a move for the ball, realises very quickly he's not going to get there, and puts the brakes on, keeps his feet planted, and turned his back. So it's like he's deliberately trying to foul the boy, like everything he possibly can, not to foul, and it's just a bit of momentum between the two players that's kind of. It's a free kick. Never, ever a fucking booking, in my view. I don't know what you.
No, we didn't think so at the time, but I've not seen it back to see it on TV to see how bad it was, but it did look a bit harsh at the time. I thought, well, it's a wee bit further. It was over on the east side on the other half that I sit, but we were all moaning about it at the time. Second one's definitely a booking, just lazy challenge. And I know his stats were good at that point and all that, but he was tired. He looked tired, sticking a leg out there.
John, did you have a view of having seen it on the TV? Because you would have had a better view than us watching it live. Then for the first one, do you think that we're being harsh on the ref, or is the ref harsh on McGuinness?
I never saw the first one. I don't know what was going on at the time. I remember it might have
Found
been
the
because
porn on that stick.
It might have been because I was checking the messages, because you guys were obviously like a couple seconds ahead of the broadcast. So I heard, like, I'd seen that Hibs had scored before I actually saw Hibs had scored. So I missed McGuinness's first challenge, but the second challenge, he's just so late. It might be because I think Colin was saying there, fitness, legs, whatever.
The leg, it's just really late. I thought it looked really lazy. Even at the time, I've seen it back as well. Bit of the game, I said that to Charlie. I was like, that's a lazy tackle.
Do you know what it looked like? It looked like, do you remember Riordan done it? I think it was when he cleaned out Scatchell at Easter Road. The Hibs were getting beat and he just decided, fuck this. That's the kind of challenge it looked like. It looked like he was just having a kick at Murphy. But to the best of my knowledge, there's no animosity between the pair of them. It was just late.
He was maybe
like really
to move faster and then realised
it was Jamie Murphy.
Okay, it's really slow. He should have been away by now.
It was just a wee nibble. And I'm going to contradict myself here, right? And I think it was a booking as well, right? You see players booked for that, but you also see players get away with those all the time, right? And see when it's a second yellow, and I think the referees, he must ken his first booking's harsh as well. He doesn't have to pull out the card there. He was fucking rapid. He's like, yes. Here we. And I just
think the referee was making
cards all night.
Do you think the referee was making his own sort of statement in regards to VAR? Like, I've got this game under control. There's going to be no clear and obvious errors. He's off. I know that VAR can't intervene when there's a yellow card.
Aye, maybe. But the VAR wouldn't have looked at it anyway, so even if he chooses not to book him again, VAR doesn't
So they don't look at red cards, it's only straight red.
Straight red. Aye, straight red he would have intervened, but if he's decided it's no yellow, and you look at some of the other tackles that went in the game that didn't get booked, you go, he could easily have let it go. It's totally justifiable yellow. Like, and that's why I'm contradicting myself, because I would say, well, if it's a yellow card,
I know what you mean, though. I don't know if you said it on your spaces yesterday. I know the one yesterday morning, but because the ref thought after it, that was a bit harsh booking him for that first one. It's like a half a yellow. This is your full yellow for your yellow and a half.
Aye.
Well, this is your half. Actually, would be you're on your third booking, if you like, is your red card. You know what I mean? They let you away with one because they think that was a fucking shouldn't have booked you there. It was too quick.
Because I think it's only had those two fouls, and again, I can't mind them having another. It wasn't like it was a dirty game either, but something. Kukarevic got booked for persistent fouling, and he was on a mission to foul folks. I didn't really have any complaints about his booking, and I think Johnson was right to sub him off because he would have, for the way the referee was handling the game, he would have got another yellow card undoubtedly. So no complaints there, but McGuinness was like so fucking. And then McCurdy's yellow towards the end, it was McCurdy's first foul in the game. There's fucking nothing in it as well, and the ref booked him. It
doesn't matter if it's the first foul the way. Like that, that's just a football fan thing, eh? It's not really a thing in the rules or anything.
Correct, but it was on its own. It didn't look enough to book a player, and again, especially in the context of the game when you see some of the other fouls that were gone unpunished.
I just
can't remember them.
Colin seemed really adamant there that that's not in the rules, but I know the other night when I sent the rule book through him, he went, "Fuck reading that." So
too long didn't read.
I came what isn't in there. If you go in with confidence, folk will believe it. Well, I've not read it either, even though I've sent you it.
How long have you been sitting on that one, John?
What the rule book? Or...
No, just the chance to go and say, "Fuck you never read it."
No, Colin did something a wee while ago with me. It was when I was making up some shite about the number of goals that Ryan Porteous had been involved in. And he put me on the spot and said, "Is that right? Is it?" Well, it feels pretty good for a defender.
Aye. Right, so McGuinness got sent off, and a bit of the debate then was about should Lee Johnson have taken it off beforehand, and Lee Johnson called this out himself, so he didn't wait for the interview to ask about it or anything. He says, "I'll get criticism for no subbing him," and I'm paraphrasing here, this isn't exactly what he said, but we've got the benefit of live GPS data, and I think he said he was second for 150 metres per minute runs or accelerations and decelerations. I think kind of how these things are, but I assume they're your sort of metrics to say, is somebody managing to kind of cope with the pace of the game, or are they struggling? So he says, based on that data, they felt they could leave him on a wee bit longer, and then obviously he's gone in and made that foul, which did look like, you say, calling like a tired challenge. Where do you stand then on data versus your own eyes and what they're telling you?
I think they've got to help inform you, but I think you've got to use. I think you use both. Is this where the laptop manager stuff's coming from? Like, is this?
I think that's sort of where the critics and also he talked about, what was it, after the Dundee United game, he sort of said based on the percentages or something. He was talking about the stats. He said we win that game, 99 times out of 100 or whatever. So I think there's like a few things pointing to being quite data driven.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with looking at it, but surely you've got to say the stats are telling us that. But these stats are in the past; they've happened. That's how these stats have been produced. What's your eyes telling you now? Like it was
the live stats.
Aye, they're live. But so that tackle was lazy as fuck, right? What did the stats say about that? Because it was too late by that time to look.
It's his second yellow, banned for 3 games.
So well, it's like you need to be looking like as well. You know, somebody can be having a good game, but they'll look fucked.
Aye.
And he did. And he had. Bear in mind, he's played naming about well, did he play 45 at Parkhead? 45. Other than that, it's been 20 minutes here. One week he never even came off the bench.
Yeah.
5 minutes there, 10 minutes here. Like, and we've just got to keep playing him because the GPS tracker was saying he's running about well. It's like, I think you need to have a bit of, you need to use both, I think.
Aye. John?
Nah, I didn't disagree, but I also think that there's an element of everyone's got 2020 vision when it comes to hindsight. Like with hindsight, you
Folk
wouldn't
were
have
saying
played
it,
him.
John. Folk were saying it.
Were they saying it again?
I was having a conversation about taking him off and the big guy up front because he's on the booking in the first half. About 10 minutes in, he got booked and then he got another warning. And I'm like, fuck me, I'd maybe even have him off at half time.
Aye,
right,
I was
okay,
surprised
this
he came
is
out
the-
for the second half.
This is the stuff that you miss when you're sat at home like that. There was a game recently where someone got booked early doors. Can't remember who it was, but they managed to see out the game. But it is like you do have that feeling of just kind of being on a knife edge, and I suppose in a situation like McGuinness, like if it was any other player who had not had the injury problems that McGuinness had and had been playing regular football, you can kind of roll the dice a little bit more. But with someone like McGuinness who, and it was fairly recently that they were talking about him, like Hibs, and I think it was maybe in the evening news where they were talking about, and they've said similar things about Kevin Nisbet recently. So he was part of the open training session recently. He's up and he's running and he's doing some ball work, but medically speaking, he's not ready to play competitive football. So they're kind of like bringing him on slowly, especially because it was quite a serious injury that he had. And I think the same applies to McGuinness in terms of like it's only just been recently. Like I was surprised to see him starting the other day. I think I said that earlier about like injured players coming back, getting a few minutes and getting a few minutes towards the end of the game. So either there's a definite argument to use your eyes as well as the data, but like I say, like hindsight is 2020.
He had a good game though, McGuinness, I think.
Aye, I thought he made the because he was picking the ball and turning and driving, which is like something that doesn't happen very much with others, does it?
Aye. I tell you what I saw. I read a wee thing with Joe Newell earlier on. Just he was sticking up for McGuinness and said none of the players blamed him, and he's just back off a long injury and everything. And I thought it was a really good interview, and Joe Newell spoke really, really well on it. And if you were his teammate, that's exactly what you would be wanting him to say. Just that it was like kind of really, really defensive and sort of he references sending off at Hampden as well. He says, "I've done it myself," kind of thing. Like, can you go think, "Fuck, have I done that for?" Never said that, but why have I done that? Because you're just desperate to kind of win the ball and you've got that enthusiasm. But the players should have. He says they should have dug him out the hole rather than it just kind of falling, because everybody then points to him again since it's against his fault that we got beat. But actually, you need to.
So, route one,
you lose
lose
their team.
Aye.
Do you think that Johnson was too slow to change it? So once we went down to 10 men, should he have made adjustments to the team quicker or different adjustments to the ones that he did?
Aye, I think I can't remember what he did make in the end, but I thought he should have got like maybe Kenna on that one earlier. He never came on at all, did he, Kenna?
No.
Because then he ended up trying to attack again and bringing on McCurdy and Ewan and all that. Aye, I do. I think there was a bit of error made there as well.
Because he ended up putting Porteous out to the right hand side, and
he drifted there anyway. I don't know. He done that at Parkhead as well. I don't know if he's just fancying it out there or something now. I don't know what's going on.
Because Rocky's in there. Rocky went central, and he had a good game as well. Rocky, I thought for more or less a full 90 minutes. I think there was one moment in the game where St Johnstone were on the break and they were sort of going through three forwards, breaking through, and Rocky was the last man, and he just managed to sort of position himself enough to force the boy wide, but also to make it really difficult for the boy to play the pass in to the guy who was running through centrally. And then obviously the boy shot and Marshall saved it, no bother. Anyway, right, so disappointed night all in. For the VAR, so the other controversial VAR moment was when the referee awarded us a penalty. And then...
But did he give the penalty?
The ref, so that was the reason why there was the check, because the ref gave the penalty. If there's a penalty area incident, it gets an automatic VAR check, and they'll check for, in this case, because I was questioning it, because the linesman flagged for the offside. So the referee gave the penalty, and then the linesman flagged. You know how they're instructed to put the flag up late? And so he flagged. I had a wee bit of conversation on Hibs.net, and we're trying to kind of balance up what some of the guidance is saying for when VAR should get involved. And I thought if the linesman hadn't flagged it, they wouldn't have checked it offside because it's no clear and obvious error. So they'll go, linesman's no flagged it. It's close enough that you'd say he's got that right. But they do check for matters of fact kind of thing. So it's fact that he was offside if they're checking it in those incidents.
Yeah.
But I don't know if any saw the still for the
offside. I couldn't work out whether he was offside or no because I think they put a blue line up and a red line up, and it was a midge's dick of a gap between the two of them. But then they also had a graphic down the bottom right hand side that was the opposite direction. So it was like a rectangle, and half of it was red and half of it was blue. And I was like, so fuck it, is he offside? Is he not? Like, what are you actually trying to tell me here with these graphics?
I was confused about where they put the line on or where they chose what part of the body for the defender they chose to use for it.
I know, but you know, it's maths, eh? Like that's what we're using now. So you just need to go with it.
Aye.
If it's offside, it's offside. That's what we're giving. Well, some people wanted VAR in. If we want VAR, that's what we get. It's offside.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
whether
I suppose,
it's a fucking ball here or not, that's it. We've got to get them on work in our favour as well. That's just the way it is. Eh?
What do you think of VAR over the course of the weekend? I don't know if you've watched Sports Scene and saw some of the other decisions. So it kind of featured prominently in the Hearts game and also at Ibrox and Fir Park. So we're talking about reasons to disallow a goal. Actually, at Fir Park, the Aberdeen player scored. It got disallowed and then VAR overruled, so that the goal got awarded.
Right. I've not seen that one. I watched the Hearts game yesterday, and I've seen the Rangers tackle. So I've not seen much more than that. But I think there was enough in the Hearts game to say. I thought the Rangers one. I thought it was a red card. I know folk are sort of jumping and saying it's not a red card because it's Rangers, but I'm sure if it was Hibs fans, if it was Hibs, we'd be wanting somebody saying off for that. Cut the boy halfway up his shin. Red card. How the referee missed it, I reckon. Same with the handball. I reckon he missed the handball, and I don't know how he missed. What was the other one he missed? The Hearts goal, the first one.
Oh, the Hearts.
I don't know what the Celtic disallowed goal. I have no idea why that was disallowed. And I'm not sure how VAR didn't overturn that either. The diving header.
Aye.
Well, I'm not any idea how that was overturned because it didn't look like there was anything wrong with anything. He wasn't offside, and there wasn't a foul. So I'm not sure what was. It was like your goal up at Dundee United last week.
Aye.
What was that for? So it'd be good to hear actually why they've disallowed stuff or not overturned stuff. I just think we've got. I don't know if it's a Scottish football thing. I know they moaned in England because Liverpool seem to have been on the end of decisions as well, but it's like folk were moaning before we had it in, and it's already set off right away. The Celtic got everybody's against us, even VAR, and even Rangers are getting a red card. And you're like, but it was a red card. You know what I mean? And it's just feeding that paranoia, man. It's like this should, right? And I obviously could be proven wrong on it, and I hope I'm not. This thing, it's a wee boy sitting in a hut in the M8 somewhere, watching on the telly, with no crowd noise, with no players in his face, and watching numerous replays. What excuses have they got left to get it wrong? They've not got the usual stuff, the noise of the crowd. They've not got, you know what I mean? I've only seen one angle. I couldn't see it. All the excuses are taken away. There's no excuse anymore. I can see, other than we've not got our fucking cameras. That there's no reason to. I think I were also apprehensive about it and worried about it. It's like we're getting the rules applied as per the rules now, not as per Celtic fans shouting or Rangers fans bullying something in it.
Aye. So I suppose at the VAR decision, how many that you've seen ended up with the wrong decision? Like, with it still being contentious?
The handball, definitely. But with my opinion, but the Mikey Stewart was agreeing with it.
Aye.
I don't know what the handball rule is anymore.
I think they change it all the time, don't they?
The idea that it's not a high-tech facility with
It's not
plasma
is it?
screens, 46 inches, fast forward, rewind, slow
It's just
motion.
very
It's just
Sitting with IPTV Fire Stick, hoping it doesn't
I
buffer.
know.
it's just a wee guy. in
5
like
seconds
a,
behind me. I'm 5 seconds behind me. He said to the referee,
It's just-
hurry up.
it's just a wee guy in a
I'm waiting.
hat that dishes at the clubs for the pitch and putt.
There's a really good explanation on how it works in practice on Hibs.net. I don't know if it's for Barry, the announcer. I don't know if he's put it on the bounce as well. But he's saying it's like there's a team in Preston, I think it was, and everything gets kind of relayed. So it gets relayed to him to announce it. The screen updates happen at this kind of control centre in Preston, and the SFA or the SPFL, whoever it is that's doing it, they're all kind of liaising. So there's a wee bit of delay as the information gets pinged around the different parties and relayed back to the stadium. But if it's on I think it's the threads just called VAR on Hibs.net. If you want to kind of see how it works in practice, it's interesting.
Too long, didn't watch.
Too long, didn't watch. Aye.
I just think there's too much worry about it. It's like, let's just see how it goes rather than worrying about it. I mean,
Did
other stuff, I'll not celebrate a goal until I know it's a
Fuck
goal
that.
and all that. Like, don't your arse.
Aye, fuck that. They did say it was going to be horrendous for the first few months. Anyway, the actual kind of boy that runs it came out and says, "Aye, it's going to be shite till we get used to it." So we've maybe got a wee bit of pain, like in inverted commas, until that happens. Right, anyway, pretty much out of time. St Mirren on Saturday. What's your thoughts, John? It's Saturday. We're playing St Mirren, Easter Road.
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye, I think they're doing all right now. And I saw that Stephen Robinson, he's been tipped for the Northern Ireland job. So
Was he?
I think, do you know, the only reason I saw it was because I was on the BBC trying to find out what the score was in the Rangers game while I was at uni, because the livescore.com was miles behind. And I must have seen it in passing. I think I checked out the St Mirren score as well, because there's a St Mirren fan that I follow on Twitter who was bumping his gums. I think it's that Keros Corner. And I couldn't work out why he was bumping his gums, because St Mirren were 1-2-1 at the time. So I don't know what the chat is with McGuinness and whether he's going to be injured still. It might be.
Talking about that today. Like, is he no, like, I think, right, and I could be well wrong here, that if you're sent off, you miss the next game
I think so.
automatically. And then because it was 2 yellows, that then goes to your points total. So he might only miss the next game. But if his points have added up to, I don't know, 12 or 14 or whatever it is, then that would kick in 2 weeks after the booking that triggered the points.
So he might play or he might not. Is that what you're saying?
I think he'll not be playing on Saturday. I think he'll miss the next match. And then he'll be available the week after, I think.
So I don't know.
That could be old rules.
I don't like Hibs playing at Easter Road. I don't know if we'll play like a more recognisable formation or whether we'll go with the 3-5-2, because I thought the 3-5-2 was working against St Johnstone. Reasonably confident playing at home. Fuck it, 3-0 Hibs.
What I should have asked John, Colin, I'll ask you, just what's your score prediction for it?
6-0. 6-0 Hibs.
6-0 Hibs. Do you think this is going to be the one that we batter somebody?
Aye, get a couple early goals and that, and we'll actually fucking take our chances.
Aye. I think it'll be a close game. I think maybe a 2-2. I think both teams are capable of scoring.
Do you think early goals make a difference, or do you think early goals and then you didn't get early goals in the second half? It starts getting people edgy because you're no back going on to batter someone like you thought you
I
were going
see
to.
what you mean. I think early goals make a difference. We've spoke about it. Well, I've certainly spoke to him about it, whether it's been on here or not. But teams like St Mirren or St Johnstone or whatever, I know St Mirren's doing well this season. Motherwell, anybody that comes to Easter Road is generally coming in thinking, let's not get beat, and then we'll try and sneak one later, right? If we can get the early goal, it fucks their game plan up.
Aye.
Because their game plan will be 0-0 at half time.
Aye, it draws them out and creates space for us, in theory.
Scary, aye.
Aye, that's
yet to see it in practice yet, but unfortunately.
Ken. Right, that's us out of time. So there'll be no short bangers this week because we've got our live show. There are a couple of tickets left for that if you'd like to come in. See us do short bangers live. It's at the Albion Bar in Easter Road on Friday night. It's the 28th of October. We'd love to see you there. Tickets are £10 if you're not a subscriber and £7 if you are a subscriber. As I said at the start of the show, we are about to go and record Extra Time, so a wee extra episode. If you want to listen to that, go to our Twitter, click the wee link and subscribe. £3 a month and you get tons of extra content plus other discounts and so on. And you get to say that you're supporting the podcast as well, which is what all the good cunts do. Right, thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Oh, sorry, we never got into the listener questions. We're running out of time. We'll maybe do them on Tuesday night on Spaces. So we'll keep them then. Join us on Twitter on Tuesday night, and we'll do them then. All right, cheers, folks. Catch you next time.
County line I pledged upon. Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee.